Ladies and gentlemen, the ceremony will begin in 5 minutes. Please begin finding your seats. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please move forward and fill in from the front for our audio-visual, it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the ceremony will begin in 2 minutes. Please turn off and silence all electronic devices. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Major General Mark C. Quander, Commanding General, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Great Lakes and Ohio River Division, welcome to today's retirement ceremony in honor of Colonel Adam J. Czekanski. Members of today's official party are Major General Mark C. Quander and Colonel Adam J. Czekanski. Please rise for the playing of the national anthem and invocation given by Father Joseph Wolf, Senior Parochial Vicar for St. Bernadette Roman Catholic Church.
This is a reading from the Gospel according to St. Mark. As Jesus was leaving Jericho with his disciples and a sizable crowd, Bartimaeus, a blind man, sat by the roadside begging. On hearing it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, "Jesus, Son of David, have pity on me." Many rebuked him, telling him to be silent. But he kept calling out all the more, "Son of David, have pity on me." Jesus stopped and said, "Call him." So they called the blind man, saying to him, "Take courage, get up. Jesus is calling you." He threw aside his cloak, sprang up, and came to Jesus. Jesus said to him in reply, "What do you want me to do for you?" The blind man said, "Master, I want to see." Jesus told him, "Go your way. Your faith has saved you." Immediately he received his sight and followed him on the way. But I was struck by that phrase, "Master, I want to see." Lord, years ago, you answered Adam's prayer, and ours too, to see. To see how great and honorable and humble too is the call to serve. To see you in his brothers and sisters, and to see that all of us, seen and unseen, are Adam's brothers and sisters. To see you, Lord, in places near and places far from home. To see in the mirror also daily a reflection of us and of all, and Lord, also of you. Lord God, open our eyes to your presence here among us today, here and now, and within each of us every day. And Lord, bless Adam and his family and our soldiers near and far. Bless all of us with the prayerful trust of the once blind Bartimaeus, so that each day we again receive our sight, and that our lives be for those around us the visible evidence of your invisible presence. In your name we pray. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Colonel Czekanski will now recognize his family with flowers. The armed services have a long-standing tradition of celebrating its members and milestones achieved throughout their careers. Today, we are here to honor the distinguished service of an American patriot who has dedicated over 25 years of service to the nation, the United States Army, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. I would like to extend a special welcome to the Czekanski family, friends, district, and district staff. Thank you so much for being with us here today. Please join me in giving our guests a warm welcome. Colonel and Mrs. Czekanski, we'd like to thank you for inviting us to share in this significant milestone. Military retirements are about beginnings and endings, and are a landmark occasion, not only for the retiree, but also for his family, friends, colleagues, and the organization he leaves behind. We are being asked to share in one of the most significant events in the career of a military retiree. We are being asked to celebrate him and his accomplishments and thank him for his many sacrifices and those of his family. Today is our time to express appreciation on behalf of the Army and a grateful nation, and to bid farewell to a dedicated leader and soldier. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor to introduce our host for today's ceremony, Major General Mark C. Quander.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. This is a great venue. Adam, Wendy, and everybody, thanks for coming out here today to celebrate in this momentous occasion. Your participation in today's ceremony is a testament to the abundant relationships Adam and Wendy have cultivated over the years, 26 years, and just thanks for everything that you all have done. We appreciate everyone taking time out of your busy schedules to bid farewell to this great Army family with Adam and Wendy. And today, Adam and his family go home, and they'll like the gifts and the awards, but they'll remember your presence even more. And so thanks for spending your time with the family here today to honor this awesome Army family for 26 years of incredible service to our nation. And I would like to thank everyone who worked so hard to ensure that today's ceremony befits this amazing family. I know it's a lot of hard work from the district and other folks, and from Father Wolf to come together to make this a special day. And so thank you to all of you all. Now, this is an unforgettable day for Adam and the family as we make a big transition, and it's not gonna be a somber moment, it's gonna be a joyful moment. We're gonna celebrate all the great and wonderful things that Adam, Wendy, and the entire Czekanski family have done. But the Army recruits a soldier, commissions an officer, and it retains a family. And I want to think about that for a second. Recruits a soldier, the person, commissions an officer, but that person serves, retains the family. The family doesn't get a paycheck. The family doesn't get necessarily, well, maybe you get to pick the assignment. Sometimes I screw that up, but the family's important for a person to serve. And so before we talk about Adam, I'd like to maybe highlight some of the incredible people that have enabled him to serve. But before that, I'd like to recognize some family members that have come here. And doing this in Buffalo, I think, is very meaningful for the Czekanski family because you're from Buffalo, or Wendy's from Rochester, and I think it makes it meaningful to do it. You commission not too far from here, and you get to retire at home. And I think that is unforgettable in of itself. But first, Michael and Diane Czekanski here in Buffalo, thanks for coming. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your support to Adam and Wendy and the kids over the years. I know it absolutely means a lot to them. Also here we have Jake coming from Seattle, Adam's brother. And I think Ben is here as well. And Michelle, Adam's sister, is online watching the ceremony. And then we also have Wendy's mom, Bernie, I think, who's watching from Texas. Lots of aunts and uncles, family members, maybe a few nieces and nephews out here and cousins. And so thank you all for coming. Before I talk about Adam, I told you, the family, the Army retains a family. And I think it's important to acknowledge the sacrifices and the accomplishments and accolades of the folks that have helped Adam to serve. First, I'd like to talk about is Annabelle. And, for Annabelle and Cody, New York's still in school right now. We've still got a few more weeks, maybe a few AP exams, some Regents exams coming up. And for these two, they've moved 5 or 6 times. I think 6 is the final tally. And we don't give them a paycheck. They don't get to necessarily choose the assignment. But yet they soldier on and they're troopers. And for these two, like amazing military kids and families, they've accomplished quite a bit. And I'd like to I'll start with oldest first. I'll start with Annabelle with you first. And so I know it may embarrass you a little bit, but rising senior. So a few more weeks, won't be a junior anymore, rising senior. Very accomplished athlete, scholar, and I'll say civic citizen for the work that she's doing. Soccer player, but found a passion for running, and is quite the accomplished cross-country runner. Her team went to states in cross-country. In the spring, she does track and does the steeplechase and is a national qualifier in the steeplechase. So that's pretty amazing of itself. Awesome student in the classroom. And kind of after my own heart, she's a Girl Scout. I've got a Girl Scout at the house. And what you may not know about Annabelle is she's already done her silver award. She's about to finish up her gold award. That's the equivalent of the Eagle Scout for Boy Scouts. Doing all that while still, supporting Dad and everything that he's been doing, whether he's home or away. And so Annabelle, just thanks for all that you've done to support Dad and support Mom, and just being a great young adult here through it all. Now she does have a teammate in all this, and maybe sometimes they get a little bit rowdy and raucous at the house. But Nicholas, who's 14, he's in 8th grade now. He'll be starting high school here this fall, and he's got a passion for football. And I think you also run track as well. Earned his black belt in Taekwondo, and is also quite accomplished. And Nick has a passion for service. And I think you see this in both Nicholas and Annabelle. They both love what they do. They love serving others. Annabelle does it in Girl Scouts. Nicholas does it in Boy Scouts. He just finished up one of his significant awards here in Boy Scouts. I think we're close to Eagle Scout. And he's going to head off this summer to Philmont. And if you're familiar with the Boy Scouts, that is a significant leadership and enriching experience for someone in Boy Scouts when they head out to Philmont. And so for Nicholas and for Annabelle, thanks for being awesome young adults to Mom and Dad as Dad moves around and serves our wonderful country. And so if we can, let's just give the two of them just a round of applause. Now, Adam's partner in crime, Wendy, and is his soulmate, married for almost 18 years, and that's quite an accomplishment in of itself. But they both served in the military at one point in time. I know you all met at Cornell and ROTC, and like so many folks who serve in the military, sometimes they're not at the same assignment. And so when Adam first commissioned, he went up to Fort Drum. When Wendy first commissioned, she went down to Fort Bragg, now Fort Liberty. and both continue to serve our country. But when you have folks that are dual military like that, sometimes there's some family rivalry that goes on in the house about who's better. And I'm curious who the better of the two is. So we're gonna do a little bit of a test here, Wendy. Okay. So when we in the house, sometimes, you talk about how well you shoot, and sometimes that's part of the scorecard. Sometimes it's how much experience you have in the military, and maybe that's part of the scorecard. And sometimes we use the PT test, the physical fitness test. And so, by my count, I think the first one is shooting, and I think Wendy's the better marksman of the two. And I think that's irrefutable. So I think the score is Wendy 1 and Adam 0 right now, okay? And then when it comes to experience, we can use jumping out of planes in airborne school maybe as another example. And I think the data says that Wendy 15, Adam 5. No, Wendy's 20. Oh, Wendy's 20, Adam 5. Okay. Okay, so right now Wendy 2, Adam 0. Now PT. That's a tough one. They're both pretty good, and so maybe we've got a tie there. Yeah, we'll call it a draw. But Wendy, who has served our country, they've both been apart at some point in time. We brought them back together, and you've been there for 18 plus years when you were dating. Just Thanks for running a household. Thanks for being a great teammate. Thanks for supporting Army families through multiple deployments. We don't give our spouses a paycheck. They don't always get a vote on a lot of things. And we don't always give them all the recognition they deserve. But for Wendy, thank you for all that you've done for Adam, for the family, for our military over all these years. And please, let's give Wendy a round of applause. So Adam, 26 years, brother. It's a long time, and he's done a lot. And what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to recount all of Adam's assignments. I'm going to briefly touch what he's done, and then I'm going to kind of bucket some things together and talk about his accomplishments and the impact, and then we're going to do some awards, and then we're going to turn it over to Adam, who I think is who we really want to hear from. But Adam's done a lot of stuff in his time, a career that spans from the tactical, operational, strategic levels. Served as a platoon leader at Fort Drum, a company commander in Korea, battalion operations officer and battalion executive officer at Fort Carson. He worked in the San Francisco district as the deputy commander, came home to the Buffalo district as the commander, professor of military science at Niagara Falls University, and then culminated an awesome career as the Pittsburgh district commander. And then for the last year, Adam's been doing special duty supporting the Great Lakes Ohio River Division as the temporary power the task force temporary emergency power commander. And I think, Adam, when we talk about things, and you look back over a career, every assignment is meaningful, but I'm not sure the individual assignments mean as much as what you've learned from those assignments collectively. And what I'd like to do is maybe just highlight a couple of those themes that maybe have impacted you and shaped you over the years for the team. And I'll lump it into a couple of categories. First, I'll say is developing leaders is a legacy and an impact that Adam's had on our military. It was he's done a couple of assignments where he's significantly impacted young leaders. One assignment at West Point where he taught as an instructor up there, and then more recently at Niagara Falls where he was a professor of military science. And when I asked Adam about different experiences, and when we sat down and we spoke, you could see in his eyes this glimmer when he talked about a couple of weeks ago where he got to commission cadets at Niagara Falls University, and how much of an impact that had on him, but also the impact I'm sure that had on those cadets. And so I'll say developing leaders in a broad category because the impact he had at the United States Military Academy, the impact he had at Niagara Falls University, raising up the next generation. And you could see the spark in his eye and how much he was inspired serving in those assignments, how he stays in touch with folks he's encountered in those assignments. And when you talk about the imprint and impact on someone's legacy in the United States military, you're impacting a large number of folks who are going to go serve our country. Things are challenging, things are dynamic right now, and the folks that you taught at West Point, the folks that you instructed at Niagara Falls University have leapt out and leaped into the military, and they're doing it because of the things that you taught them. And so when we talk about legacy, developing leaders, and the tutelage that you've given them is significant. And so thanks for developing leaders, Adam. I think the next one is he got to come back home here to Buffalo and command the Buffalo District. And we look at the impact that the Buffalo District has, not only on the local community, but the state of New York. And in particular, the Buffalo District has a particular mission called FUSRAP. And it stands for Formerly Utilized Sites Remedial Action Program. And really what it's doing is it's cleaning up contaminated sites left from the Manhattan Project. The Buffalo District is the leader across the engineer regiment in our nation in cleaning up those sites. And Adam has set the conditions for the success for that district when he was the district commander. And if you talk to the folks in the district today, they are still feeling the positive impacts of Adam's leadership as the district tackles a number of those sites. I had the opportunity over the past couple of days to tour a couple of those sites, some that were actively working and some that were about to tackle. And it all goes back to a lot of the work that Adam did when he was here as the Buffalo District Commander. And so when you look at on your legacy, the impact to positively impact the place in which you live, where you were born, where you're from, I think is one that not a lot of folks get a chance to get to say in their bucket list that they did, Adam. And so coming home, where you grew up, positively impacting the community as a service member, and what you're doing to remediate places so that people can live, work, and play. Thanks, Adam, for that, and just a testament to your leadership. The last one I'll highlight is one that Adam's been working on for a while. And sometimes in the military, one of the challenges is you don't get to always see the fruits of your labor. The work that you do, it takes years to finally realize what was going on. One that has turned around pretty fast is the work that Adam did really over the past 4 years, what was something we call temporary power. And when he was at the Pittsburgh district, he recounted one of his experiences where he first took over, and there was a natural disaster, and we had to launch this temporary power mission out, and there were some challenges. And Adam vowed that he was going to modernize, reform, and adapt this program, which delivers temporary power to people who have it when they're at their absolute worst and needed it the most, to critical infrastructure, to facilities, to homes, and providing that service when people need it the most. People count on the U.S. military. And when we had some challenges with that program, Adam vowed that he was going to reform, modernize it, and fix it. And it took the better part of 4 years, but you saw it through to completion. And as we speak, the fruits of 4 years worth of labor, that organization is training right now. He's modernized them. He's made them more capable. And God forbid if we have to utilize them again, and we will, unfortunately, they'll be better prepared and ready to answer our nation's call to help folks at its worst. They've launched to places like Guam, to Maui, to Puerto Rico. They've launched down to Florida. Florida, where my wife's best friend had her house ravaged by a hurricane, and the temporary power and the work from the Corps helped her get back on her feet. And so this impact that seemingly may not resonate with us touching the individual person absolutely touches lives and has a major impact to folks. And so, Adam, thanks for all you did with temporary power, reforming it, modernizing it, and letting us benefit from the fruits of your labor and seeing how far it's come. And so thank you. And so for Adam, as you kind of maybe reflect on these 26 years, maybe a couple of more things in perspective. It's the role of the senior leader to set the vision and the conditions for success well into the future. You've done that in spades with Buffalo District, with Pittsburgh. Every place that you've gone, you've had a vision for the future. And while you may not be able to have seen all the fruits of your labor while you were there, we are absolutely benefiting from the fruits of your labor, and so thank you. You're an example of what a senior leader should be. You set our future leaders up for success to meet the challenges they're going to face. You've made Buffalo and our nation a better place because of your leadership. And there's a lot of challenges our country's going to face in the years ahead. You can just look at the news, what's going on with Russia, with China, with the Middle East. They're complicated. We've got natural disasters, emergencies, hurricanes, floods, and fires. But Adam, with all that, you said you want to leave the Jersey in a better place. And you've absolutely done that. You've done it with developing our leaders. You've done it with your strategic leadership in the Corps of Engineers, with the FUSRAP program, with temporary power. And you've done it with those leaders that you just commissioned from Niagara Falls University the last week. And it's all because of your leadership. You help prepare the engineer regiment and the Army future leaders who will continue to be inspired by your legacy, that spark that you lit in the hearts and souls of those that you touched. And so for Adam, for you, Wendy, for Nicholas, for Annabelle, thanks for all that you've done. And let's just give the Czekanski family a round of applause. Okay, we got a few things we're going to present you, Adam, so.
Please direct your attention to the screen for a brief history of the De Fleury Medal.
I am Lieutenant General Scott Spellman, 55th Chief of Engineers and Commanding General of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. I'm coming to you today from Stony Point, New York, on the banks of the Hudson River. It was at this location in July of 1779 that one of the heroes of our regiment, Lieutenant Colonel Francois De Fleury, exhibited exceptional leadership under fire and was later recognized by the Continental Congress, who even had a medal struck in his honor.
The De Fleury Medal was named in honor of François Louis Tesdere De Fleury, a French military engineer serving in the Continental Army. In 1777, De Fleury volunteered to serve with the American Army in our fight for independence from Great Britain. The Continental Congress appointed De Fleury a captain of engineers, and quickly proving himself at the battles of Fort Mifflin and Brandywine, he was promoted to lieutenant colonel.
On June 1st, 1779, the British captured Stony Point, New York, on the western side of the Hudson River, and Verplancks Point, directly across the river to the east. Possession of the two strategic forts brought a key part of the river under enemy control and also threatened the Americans' position at West Point, located less than 15 miles upriver. After reinforcing Stony Point, the British commander regarded it as a little Gibraltar.
Recognizing the danger, General Washington planned a daring surprise assault. On the night of July 15-16, he ordered a recently formed light infantry corps, led by Brigadier General Mad Anthony Wayne, to attack Stony Point. The force consisted of 4 battalions. Colonel Christian Old Denmark Febiger led the 1st Battalion, with De Fleury as second in command.
On July 15th, the Corps, except for a small diversionary force, unloaded weapons and turned in their ammunition. Secrecy was so tight, the troops did not know they were going to attempt to recapture Stony Point. For such a risky assault, surprise was vital, and the attack was to take place in total darkness. Fixed bayonets and hand-to-hand combat were the orders of the day.
The Continentals launched a 2-prong attack on the fortress. De Fleury led the assault up the rocky southern slope. First over the wall, De Fleury was followed by a wave of American bayonets. Rushing to the flagpole, De Fleury cut the British colors from their staff. Just after midnight, the 29-year-old De Fleury single-handedly struck the colors of the British 17th Regiment of Foot. By 2 a.m., General Wayne triumphantly wrote to Washington saying, "The fort and garrison are ours. Our officers and men behaved like men who are determined to be free."
So it was that on October 1st, 1779, De Fleury stood before the Continental Congress to be praised for his valor at Stony Point. For his intrepid behavior, the Continental Congress ordered that a medal be struck in his honor. On the obverse of the medal is the Latin inscription translated as, "A memorial and reward for courage and boldness." On the reverse, again in Latin, "Fortifications, marshes, enemies overcome." Beneath the fort is the legend, "Stony Point carried by storm, July 15th, 1779.
Today, the hallmarks of the Army Engineer Regiment stand on twin pillars, supporting combat operations and building vital infrastructure in the United States. The regiment currently consists of two elements: the 91,000 Army Engineer soldiers serving in active duty, reserve, and National Guard troop units, and the 37,000 largely civilian members of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Under the leadership of the Chief of Engineers, this combined engineer team provides engineering expertise to the Army and responds to the nation's toughest challenges.
In 1989, the Engineer Regiment adopted the De Fleury Medal as a symbol to recognize today's engineer achievements because of the shared values demonstrated by the man for whom it was struck. The Engineer Regiment makes 4 award levels of the De Fleury Medal: steel, bronze, silver, and gold.
The Gold Medal. The United States Army Chief of Engineers is the only person authorized to award the Gold Medal each year to an individual whose contributions to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the Army Engineer Regiment exemplify boldness, courage, and commitment to a strong national defense. Starting in 2011, 2 gold medals are awarded annually, one to an individual outside the regiment and of national prominence, and one to an individual inside the regiment.
The credit for today's De Fleury Award program goes to Lieutenant General retired Daniel R. Schroeder, who in 1989 was the commanding general of Fort Leonard Wood and the U.S. Army Engineer School Commandant. He wanted an award that would tie together the history of contributions of the Engineer Regiment, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and the birth of our great nation.
Today, the U.S. Army Engineer Association is the arbiter of the De Fleury Medal program. The first Gold De Fleury Medal recipient was Honorable John O. Marsh, Jr., the Secretary of the Army, in 1989.
Because values have meaning to our engineer soldiers and those who support them, it is only appropriate that our nation's premier engineer award represent a soldier who served valiantly with the birth of our great country. And we saw those values on full display nearly 250 years ago, right here on the banks of the Hudson River in Lieutenant Colonel Francois De Fleury. Congratulations to all of you who are receiving this prestigious award named in his honor. Essayons, building strong, be all you can be.
At this time, Colonel Adam J. Czekanski is being awarded the Silver De Fleury Medal. The certificate reads, "In recognition of superior service to the United States Army Engineer Regiment and the United States Army Corps of Engineers as they support the Army and the nation, assuring mobility, enhancing protection, enabling logistics, building the nation's infrastructure, and responding to natural disasters. Colonel Czekanski's exceptional efforts and enduring impacts have significantly contributed to the overall readiness of the Army and reflect great credit upon the United States Army Corps of Engineers." Signed, Scott A. Spellman, Lieutenant General, 55th Chief of Engineers. Colonel Czekanski will now be presented a certificate of appreciation from the Commander-in-Chief. The certificate reads, I extend my personal gratitude and sincere appreciation of a grateful nation to you and your patriotic service to our country. Your bravery and dedication in our armed forces helped protect your fellow Americans during a critical moment in our history and contributed to a world of greater security and growing prosperity. Your devotion to duty, honor, country, in keeping with the long traditions of the finest military in the world, embodied the American ideal of selfless service. Our nation owes you an incredible debt. Your commitment and example you set will inspire future generations to serve with pride and to keep our country secure. You represent the best of our nation, and I join our fellow Americans in saluting your honorable service. I wish you happiness and success in your next chapter. Signed, President Joseph R. Biden, Commander-in-Chief. Colonel Czekanski will now receive a certificate of appreciation on behalf of the Department of the Army. The certificate reads, "Thank you and your family for your many years of dedicated service and commitment to our nation. Only 17% of all soldiers who join the Army stay until retirement eligible. Please accept our congratulations for reaching this personal milestone." Signed, Christine E. Warmuth, Secretary of the Army. Randy A. George, General, Chief of Staff, United States Army, and Michael R. Weimer, Sergeant Major of the Army. And now, I would like to invite Mrs. Czekanski to come forward and join Colonel Czekanski on stage. Mrs. Czekanski will now be presented with the Certificate of Appreciation on behalf of the Great Lakes and Ohio River Division. The citation reads, "Mrs. Czekanski is officially recognized for her exceptional contributions to the Army community and its mission from 1998 through 2024. Mrs. Czekanski has provided exemplary and selfless service to thousands of Department of the Army soldiers, civilians, and family members, specifically those individuals associated with the Army Corps of Engineers. She epitomizes the highest standard of genuine compassion, care, and concern for others, and is truly committed to serving her community and her family. Her dedicated service reflects great credit upon her, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and the U.S. Army." Signed, Mark C. Quander, Major General, Commanding. Mrs. Czekanski is now receiving a certificate of appreciation from the Army Chief of Staff on the occasion of the retirement of her husband from the United States Army. It reads, "This is to certify that Mrs. Czekanski, on the occasion of the retirement of your spouse from the United States Army, has earned grateful appreciation for your own unselfish, faithful, and devoted service. Your unfailing support and understanding help make possible your spouse's lasting contributions to the nation." Signed, Randy A. George, General, Chief of Staff, U.S. Army. For more than 240 years, the American flag has been a symbol of our nation's unity, as well as a source of pride and inspiration for millions of citizens. Born on June 14, 1777, the Second Continental Congress determined that the flag of the United States be 13 stripes, alternating between 7 red and 6 white, and that the Union be 13 stars, white in a blue field, representing a new constellation. Between 1777 and 1960, the shape and design of the flag evolved into the flag that you see today. The 13 horizontal stripes represent the 13 original colonies, while the stars represent the 50 states of the Union. The colors of the flag are symbolic as well. Red symbolizes hardiness and valor. White signifies purity and innocence, and blue represents vigilance, perseverance, and justice. As a symbol of liberty, the American flag has carried a message of freedom and inspired Americans at home and abroad. The United States flag represents who we are. It stands for the freedom we all share and the pride and patriotism we feel for our country. We cherish its legacy as a beacon of hope to one and all. Long may it wave. Major General Quander will now present Colonel Czekanski with the flag of the United States of America in recognition of his exemplary service to the country. Colonel Czekanski will now receive a certificate of retirement. The certificate reads, "This is to certify that Colonel Adam J. Czekanski, having served faithfully and honorably, is retired from the United States Army on the 31st day of May, 2024. Signed, Randy A. George, General, Chief of Staff, U.S. Army." Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel Adam J. Czekanski.
Well, thank you very much. First and foremost, family, friends, professional acquaintances, random people who may have wandered in for a free piece of cake. I appreciate everyone being here today to share in this special event. Special thanks to the Buffalo District team, especially Faith Durden, Kristen Tremblett, Diane Gilbert, Jennifer Kennerly, Yvonne Nahara, Captain Grace Beveridge, and Lieutenant Jared Pearson, for all your hard work planning, coordinating, and executing such a professional event today. I'm very grateful for all that you've done to make this an exceptionally special event for me and my family. So please join me in giving the Buffalo District team a round of applause. Father Joe, thank you for providing such meaningful words. I've very much appreciated the leadership and spiritual guidance you have provided St. Bernadette's Parish the past few years. I'm happy you could be here with us today. General Quander, sir, thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule to formally retire me today, to put me out to pasture. Not many service members are afforded the opportunity to have a personal retirement ceremony in their hometown to close out their military career. Sir, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to allow my family and friends to share this in this celebration today, as well as for all your support during my transition. So I don't know if you remember, sir, but so General Quander and I first met each other probably almost 22 years ago to the day. Both captains, so obviously he's outpaced me here, but we were in Afghanistan together, and truth be told, I was a baby captain. I had just been promoted 2 months earlier, and General Quander was a company commander of the 101st Airborne Division, seasoned captain. And so, yeah, we met at Bagram, kind of a chance meeting, and so just one of those things, you stay in the Army long enough, you have these weird coincidences where your paths cross, and I would have never thought 22 years ago that we'd be in this position today. I also want to say thank you, sir. I'm grateful that you allowed me to retire today in my blues, in my dress blue uniform. Because the Army does have another uniform, and I think oftentimes that's the preferred one, maybe for retirements. But I bought this uniform 26 years ago, more than 26 years ago, as a cadet before I got commissioned. And my first assignment at Fort Drum, I left there one weekend early in my assignment there to drive back down to my alma mater, to Cornell, to participate in a formal event with the ROTC program there. And one of the cadre members, Captain Karen Ward, sized me up, and she very bluntly said, "Should have bought a bigger size. Nothing to let out there. You're going to need a new uniform in 5 years." So Karen Ward, wherever you are now, it still fits like a glove 25 years later. No new purchase required. So, most of us don't really take time for a truly deep thinking about life and about why we are who we are or how we arrived at our current place. They're usually higher priorities for our limited time than philosophical pondering. But bringing a close to a significant chapter in my life gave me a little extra motivation to reflect on how I have developed into the person I am today and why I've been so fortunate to enjoy such a fulfilling career. The answer I arrived at was completely unoriginal and can be found in various forms on signs in Hobby Lobby, namely faith, family, and friends. And I'll just say as I embark on the rest of these remarks, you'll hear gratitude and grateful a lot. So just I realize I overuse those words, but I think they're very appropriate and very much necessary to express what I want to express in these remarks. Faith. I'm very grateful to my parents for raising me in the Catholic faith and for ensuring it was present in my life from a very young age. All that I am and all that I have accomplished in my military career and in life has been by the grace of God. I long ago accepted that it is God's plan and not mine. I place my full trust in Him to bring clarity when things are confused and open paths when things are uncertain. He showed me purpose when I was ready to quit ROTC as a sophomore at Cornell. Humility as a young officer when I needed to learn from soldiers, NCOs, and officers around me. Hope when I was discouraged by failure. And wisdom when others were counting on my leadership. God's hand was at work safely guiding me through the dangers of deployments, providing assignment opportunities that seemed impossible, and somehow always leading our family through the chaos of each move to just the right house and to great friends at every assignment. I thank God for blessing me with all the experiences and opportunities, successes and failures that allowed me to grow into the leader I am today, and for blessing me with such a wildly fulfilling career. Friends. The timeless advice of choose your friends wisely has paid great dividends for me in my career. It was never part of the plan for me to serve for even 5 years, let alone 25 years. I was intent on paying back my scholarship with 4 years of service and getting on with my life. I owe a debt of gratitude to a great group of guys I fell in with during my first duty assignment with the 41st Engineer Battalion at Fort Drum. See them up here on the screen here, some of them at least. So when I first arrived at Fort Drum in August of 1999, I was a little bit bitter, having spent 115 days at Ranger School prior to arriving. It's a 69-day course if you go straight through without any issues. So apparently I felt like I didn't want to get cheated out of my experience. So my second day in the battalion, one of the more senior lieutenants, a first lieutenant, came into the staff section where I was working and was talking to some other guys about weekend plans. And he caught a glimpse of me and he said, "Hey, can you run?" Which I said, "I'm all right." And so he said, "All right, you're coming with us." And so the five of us piled into his car and drove 427 miles to Nantucket, competed in a 50-mile relay race around the island, and did some immature things that young lieutenants tend to do. That event opened my eyes to the camaraderie and the esprit de corps that really defined the Army. I almost immediately went from being relatively indifferent about my military career to being completely sold on this being the place that I absolutely wanted to be, and these people being the people I wanted to serve with. The social times were great, but more importantly, we constantly pushed each other to be better professionally. It was never about personal gain, but always about helping each other to be better so the unit could be better. This was the model that I would experience in every assignment that would follow. I'm so grateful to my peers throughout my career for their friendship, their unselfishness, sharing their knowledge, and for raising the bar to challenge me to be better. Competition breeds excellence, and I'm fortunate to have served with countless excellent officers as my peers. It's somewhat taboo in the military to categorize those senior or subordinate to you as friends. Maintaining professionalism in relationships is taught at an early stage in your career and consistently reinforced in the name of good order and discipline. However, I found throughout my career that as I moved from one assignment to the next, those seniors and subordinates have very often become friends. I was fortunate to have excellent company commanders during that initial assignment at Fort Drum, and exceptional officers throughout my career who invested in me to help me grow, develop, and realize my potential as a leader. They showed me through their example what it meant to be a great officer and a respected leader. I owe them deeply for their mentorship, their trust, and their encouragement. And I deliberately am not listing anyone for when I talked about the peers that I served with throughout my career and those superiors. There are too many to list, and I don't want to offend anyone by leaving someone out. So that is why I'm not naming names there. But I'm going to name a few names here shortly. Because I also owe a great deal to the non-commissioned officers, the NCOs who taught me so much during those formative years. It's a very special relationship between officer and NCO where the officer is formally vested with all the authority and the responsibility, and yet the NCO most often owns the deep expertise. And nowhere is that more visible than the situation between platoon leader and platoon sergeant. I had just about the best platoon sergeant I could have asked for when I was first given a combat engineer sapper platoon at Fort Drum in Dalton Griffith. You see him off to the left there. And then I was fortunate enough to have another great one in Andrew Conti. See in the middle there being manhandled by one of our soldiers. And then lastly, Tim Murphy, as I had the opportunity to take on another platoon, a construction platoon as well. They recognized that what I lacked in practical experience, I made up for it in my willingness to listen, to learn, and to put in the hard work to better myself and the organization. I'm equally grateful for having two great first sergeants while I was a company commander serving in both Korea and Iraq, John Etter and Robert White, as well as during my service as a battalion operations officer, Richard Lane, and then lastly, while at Niagara University with the ROTC program, Todd Tribby. I've got a deep respect for the non-commissioned officer corps, for NCOs, and I was dealt the best hand I could have asked for in those that served as my right-hand man while I was in those leadership positions. Coming to the Army Corps of Engineers for most of the last decade, there are very few NCOs in the ranks, if any. And there are, however, a lot of exceptionally smart civilian professionals who educated me daily during my time serving in San Francisco, here in Buffalo, and most recently in Pittsburgh. And I'm happy that a number of the leaders I served with here in Buffalo could be here today as well. What's most apparent in the structure of a Corps of Engineer district with respect to that a similarity as far as NCO and officer would be the deputy district engineer, the senior civilian leader in the district. In some ways, kind of like a sergeant major, just in nicer clothes and without the gratuitous profanity. So I was fortunate to have three outstanding deputy district engineers. First of all, Dave Romano, who is here today, during the entirety of my time in Buffalo. And then Lena Hawkins and Vince DiCarlo when I was in command in Pittsburgh. Each was not only a wealth of information, but also a mentor in the moment and a friend by the end of our service together. I'm very grateful for the numerous friends I've made in my life. Those who I just listed that became friends during my service, but also the many friends I made outside of the service, many who are here today. I'm grateful for their support and encouragement throughout my career. To quote the inscription in the book at the end of the movie, It's a Wonderful Life, no man is a failure who has friends. And by that measure, I'm far from a failure, and I'm exceptionally grateful for it. Family. I'm deeply grateful to my parents, Mike and Diane, for the countless things they have done for me throughout my life. There's no shortage of content to draw from when it comes to the gratitude I have for my parents. In addition to the faith in which they raised me and my siblings, they also instilled in me a work ethic that emphasized the value of hard work and always taking pride in whatever you put your name on, literally or figuratively. They taught me the importance of the golden rule, treating others with dignity and respect, but also the value of connecting with others on a personal level. They taught me humility and to not take myself too seriously. Mom and Dad, I love you very much, and I cannot thank you enough for the example you set for me and for your unwavering support throughout my life. I'd be remiss if I did not recognize and thank my mother-in-law too, Bernie, who's in Texas right now and unable to be with us today. She's truly been a second mother to me, supported me throughout my career and treated me every bit as one of her own children ever since I joined her family. I'm also fortunate to have 3 great siblings with whom I have strong relationships. My older brother Jake, younger brother Ben, and my younger sister Michelle. I want to thank each of you and your respective families as well for all the support and friendship you have given to me throughout my career. I especially want to thank Jake. Oh, I forgot to put that for my parents. I'm sorry, Mom and Dad. So I have to blame my dad for this. I had a whole plan for this as far as my remarks, and at the last minute I thought, well, that'd be great if I threw some pictures up here too. And so, that was, we always host a New Year's party, and my dad almost every year would come up with some last minute project that he thought would be a great idea, like 45 minutes before the party. So anyway, this my great thought was, hey, I'll put these slides in, so I not rehearsed as well as I should be on this. But my older brother Jake, so brings back memories. As I mentioned at the beginning, there's been a lot of introspection regarding how I developed into who I am today. How many people in the audience are second in the birth order amongst your siblings? All right. So Jake is 2 years older than me, and he was the one who set the standard for me throughout my childhood. He was bigger, stronger, faster for a while, and seemingly excelled in everything that he did. I realized by the time I reached high school that I really had 2 choices. Either concede that there was no way I could ever equal him, or accept the challenge to meet or surpass the standard that he set. I chose the latter. I put in long hours in the summer, running every day, so I could overtake him in cross country. If he was getting grades in the mid-90s, I pushed to get grades in the upper 90s. He earned his Eagle Scout rank at 16, so I pushed and worked to get mine when I was 15. Point being, I owe Jake a debt of gratitude for setting the mark of excellence for me and for challenging me, whether you knew it or not, to realize my potential. That mindset, that determination, and that drive has carried on with me throughout my life. The desire to prove to others and to myself that I can achieve anything that I'm truly determined to accomplish. Most importantly, if Jake didn't enlist in the Army out of high school, I may never have chosen this as my profession. Like most other things at that point in my life, if Jake was doing it, I wanted to do it. He served 22 years, both enlisted and as an officer in the Army, serving 3 combat tours in Iraq and serving as a professional firefighter for the last 9 years after retiring from the Army. He never had a retirement ceremony of any kind when he left the service. And so I'd ask you to please give my brother Jake a round of applause for his career in uniform and for his service to our nation. And finally, to my own family, Wendy, Annabelle, and Nicholas. Words cannot effectively capture my gratitude for what it has meant to share this journey together as a family. Wendy and I actually began this journey more than 24 years ago. We first started dating when she was stationed at Fort Bragg and I was stationed at Fort Drum. It's been a journey of countless adventures. Those who have served understand that military life brings you to strange new places where you don't have an extensive personal support network to ease the transition, unless you come back home. You have no choice but to lean on each other to figure things out. In true military fashion, we always quickly adapted, make great friends, and develop meaningful community ties, just in time to move to the next assignment. The one common thread through it all was our family, the 4 of us. Wendy and I emphasized from a very early stage the value of experiences. A to-do list of fun, unique things to seek out in the local area would quickly be drafted and posted on the fridge soon after the boxes were all unpacked. I very much appreciated that we sought out the adventure and never waited for it to come to us. Not to say everyone was always a willing participant. Nicholas, I'm looking at you. But we made it a point to get the most out of every experience and to embrace the essence of the old quote, "It's not the years in your life that count, but the life in your years." They were not always successes, such as our adventure into the mountains of Colorado when Annabelle was 4, Nicholas was 2. We had the quintessential trip planned to go cut down the family Christmas tree in the mountains. And ended up being an hour of wandering in frigid temperatures and deep snow amidst a sea of sparse Charlie Brown-ish Christmas trees. This is the very end of it, so you can see, if you can make out the look on Nicholas's face, that tells the entire story. But we did make it home with the Christmas tree strapped to the roof of our car, freshly plucked from Costco. But there were far more successes than there were failures, and none was more evident than last summer's epic 365-mile family bike trip from Pittsburgh to Washington. I'm grateful for all that we have shared as a family during this journey. I'm especially grateful for the support that you always gave that enabled me to continue to pursue a career that I've loved for 25 years. Even though we always talked through every major decision together in the spirit of making them family decisions, I know it wasn't always easy. Wendy, I greatly appreciate all that you did to often run our home as a single parent while I was away or working long hours. Annabelle and Nicholas, I appreciate your understanding of the times I couldn't be there when you may have needed me. I love you all so very much, and I can't imagine experiencing any of this journey without you. What I never shared with you was how much you pushed me to strive for excellence. I always took my responsibility to our family very seriously. First and foremost, to be successful in my job, to ensure that I could provide for our family, but also to live my life personally and professionally in a way that made you proud to call me your husband or to call me your father. For Annabelle and Nicholas, I wanted to demonstrate success, to set an example that you would want to follow, not necessarily in the military, but in how you choose to live your life. To show you that you don't have to be big in stature, 5'7", to achieve big things in life. That hard work, high character, and perseverance are the key ingredients to achieving your goals. Those were the things that motivated me more than you probably ever realized to be the best officer, leader, husband, father, and person I could be. John Baker, my old boss in San Francisco, and a great leader in his own right, said something to me one time at the end of the day. I was his deputy, he was the district commander, and he shadowed my doorway probably late in the day, and I believe the discussion was probably centered on balance and how I should probably leave the office and get home to my family. And the one thing he said that stuck with me was, "It only counts if you cross the finish line together." I'm most grateful that for more than 25 years, I've had the privilege of serving our nation in a profession that I have loved, working with incredible people who helped me to realize my potential. And I'm most thankful that I was able to share this journey with my family, and that today we are crossing the finish line together. So I guess it counts. Thank you.
At this time, I will ask the Colonel Czekanski's immediate family to please come forward and join me on stage. In a gesture of appreciation for the service and dedication of this family, I ask that we join in a round of applause for Colonel Czekanski, Mrs. Czekanski, and Czekanski. We join in a round of applause for Colonel Czekanski, Mrs. Czekanski, and the Czekanski family. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask that you please stand and join us in the playing of the Engineer Song and the Army Song. On behalf of Major General Quander, we thank you for your attendance at today's retirement ceremony. Please join us at the reception just outside the auditorium for a receiving line to bid farewell to the Czekanski family. I request that you remain at your seats momentarily to allow the Czekanski family to make their way out of the auditorium. Thank you again for coming.